resume our next class, which will be taken by me only, about once you do the modeling work, how you are going to evaluate the model statistically, whether your results are okay or not. Or some people can use only one statistical criteria. Some people can use four statistical criteria. Some people can use only the visual interpretation. I think all are right. Visual interpretation is more that accurate. If you plot the observed and the simulated values, uh, and it will give you a very clear picture whether your low values are matching or the high values are matching or the peaks are matching or the trend is matching or how much your simulated values are deviating and that how much error you can tolerate. So it all depends upon the objective of your program that how much deviation you can allow. But error will be there. Your whole effort in the modeling exercise is to reduce the error, whether you can calibrate the model manually or if you are using some sort of that auto methods. But your whole aim is to reach closer to the observed values. But again, as I said yesterday, that input manipulation should not be in such a way that it doesn't represent the true characteristics of your watershed. It should represent the true nature of your watershed, that whatever the value it is. So there are a few statistical criteria which must be used in order to evaluate the model. So this class is all about that. I think I will take the class for 1 hour, then we will break. And your afternoon session will be taken by Dr. Birendra Bharti, and he will be talking about how to run the SWOT model. So I have requested him to give the live demonstration because uh, in such type of the programs, uh, all are interested more to do the hands-on. But let us see that how we can justify this. But we will make our all the effort to uh, give you the live demonstration of how to import the input data, how to overlay the spatial data, and how to interpret the model output. And when you got the model output, how you are going to statistically evaluate it. So I will be talking about that. It's a very simple lecture, and many of the things you may find is repetitive, but again, that is also the recommended. Repetition is must. So I think so. My slide is visible.
Yes, sir, visible.
Okay, that my voice is clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if two
Yes.
things are clear, then I think we should go ahead. So this is about the model evaluation criteria. Actually, uh, if you type in Google that Moriasi et al., Moriasi, Moriasi et al., 2007. So uh, he has given a very clear-cut uh, idea that how you are going to evaluate the model. And so again, this is the same thing which that we have been discussing from yesterday, that hydrological and water quality models are being used to evaluate the impact of climate, land use, and the crop management practices on quality and quantity of land and water resources. Calibration, validation are necessary before you use them into the actual field problems to solve the actual field problems. And these models facilitate the simulation of the various programs. Even in SWOT model, there is a provision of buffering also. You can put a buffer of 5 meter to 10 meter, and you can see the impact of this management practices on the sediment load to the downstream bodies. All these things are there, and this is going to help to make the policy also to design to mitigate water and soil quality degradation by determining the suitable programs for particular watershed and agronomic settings. So these are all the models' main aim. Uh, large-scale water resources planning are normally that become easier with the help of the these hydrological models. So I will close the video, then it will be better. And the process of assessing the model requires the subjective and objective estimates of closeness of the simulated behavior of the model to observations. So qualitative or the subjective assessment is to assess the systematic and the dynamic timing. If we're talking about the hydrograph, then the rising limb, falling limb, and the base flow or the behavior of the model. And the objective assessment will include थोड़ा बाद में बात करो बेटा, है ना क्लास में थोड़ा क्लास में बेटा बाद में बात करना. Okay, bye. And the objective assessment, this is going to require the use of mathematical estimates of the error between the simulated and the observed variables and or the efficiency criteria. So basically, the degree of accuracy or the degree of precision or the degree of correspondence in the comparative evaluation of the observed values versus simulated values. So this is what we are going to do. So this is just this schematic which I got from the net. And if you closely look at this, then what is the difference in real world practice and what do we do in the model? We used to put the observed input, we got the simulated response from the model, and we try to, if you see on the right hand side, we try to match the both values. And if there is error which is not acceptable to you or to your mandate of the project, how you will decide the mandate of the project. So that normally depends upon the investment which is going to be made or the decision that which is going to be made by the outcome of your that modeling that exercise. So that depends. Yes, that will normally decide the error, that how much error you can going to tolerate. And if it is not acceptable, then again you will come back. You will make adjustment to that input values, and again you will run the model. Then you need to match the values of observed and simulated once again. And this process goes on, and this is what called calibration. Okay, so this is a simple definitions of this model calibration, then the validation, and last one in the sensitivity analysis, which is the process of determining the rate of change in the model output with respect to changes in the model inputs. So this is done automatically in case of SWAT, and it gives the number of variables that is normally ranked. So when we go to SWAT cup, when we import the whole file to the SWAT cup, normally 5 to 6 variables we use to process further. So it is a necessary process to identify key variables and the precision required for calibration. So there are many methods which are used by the models to just optimize the objective function. And I think in SWAT model, I'm not sure which one is being used, but I think SCE method, which is a global optimization algorithm, is used by SWAT. I think SUFI 2 is there, and the 3-4 methods are there, which are used to optimize the objective functions. Earlier, the Monte Carlo was used, but that very large number of runs are required to establish a reliable estimate of model uncertainties by this MC method, which was removed later by genetic algorithm and SCE method, which discarded the non-behavioral model runs, and then only few runs are required by these methods. So, in fact, lots of research work is also going on. This, especially this genetic algorithm, and then they have clubbed together genetic algorithm and artificial neural network and called GEAN method. So these are all the methods which are used to optimize the objective functions. So yes, this is what we need to discuss here. I used to write more in the slides just to, this helps me in reading the whole things. In fact, that Moriarty recommended to use the at least three things to be tested for the model evaluation. And if you see this, that the recommended model evaluation statistics are selected based on the following factors. Number one, robustness in the term of applicability, and the commonly used, accepted, and recommended in the peer-reviewed literatures, and it should identify strengths in the model evaluation. And two things are very important. One is the graphical interpretation should be there, which we normally do, and then the statistical methods to evaluate the model. So these graphical methods used include time series plots, scatter plots, cumulative frequency distribution, and the contour maps. So these are all the methods which will come under these graphical methods. So any one is recommended to be used for that model evaluation. And some of the statistical methods include root mean square error, then NSE, then index of agreement percentage, mean absolute error, then R square, and absolute mean square, relative error. So these are all the things which are there, but lots of statistical criteria are there to be used. So if you see the research paper, somebody is using only R square NSE, and somebody is using R square NSE and P bias, including the graphical representation. So, but now this has been an established practice that at least three statistical criteria should be, I think three should be used, which will be discussed later in this slide. So, I think this is important. Quantitative statistics are divided into three that measure division. Number one is standard regression, dimensionless, and error index. And the statistical methods in these three categories, that out of that, one should be included in your evaluation procedure. So the standard regression statistics determine the strength of linear relationship between simulated and the measured data, number one. Number two, dimensionless techniques provide a relative model evaluation assessment. And number three, error indices quantify the deviation in the units of the data of interest. So graphical techniques provide a visual of simulated and the measured data in the first overview of the model performance, which we normally do when we start modeling the whole hydrological processes, and we get the first output. What we do, we normally take the output of the monsoon season and we plot it against the observed data, and we see how much this is going to close with the observed data. And if we find it is deviating more, then we don't evaluate immediately the R square and NSE. We go back to the model input database and we just modify it. When we find that the visual representation is okay, then only you should go to the statistical method. So this is what we do. So because if you evaluate the statistical the criteria, it takes time. So, but the visual plotting is much more easier. So if you see standard regression methods, as we have discussed, that this determine the strength of the linear relationship. So that out of these standard regression methods, there are slope and y-intercept. The slope and y-intercept of best fit regression line can indicate how well the simulated data matches the measured data. and the slope indicates the relative relationship between these two values, and the y-intercept will indicate the presence of a lag or the lead between the predicted value and the measured data, or the data sets are not properly aligned. So a slope of 1 and y-intercept of 0 will indicate that the model is exactly reproducing the magnitude of the measured data. So that may be your ultimate aim, to get closer to the measured data. But if you get this, then you have got a perfect model. So which is normally doesn't happen. So number two, that method under standard regression is coefficient of determination, or the correlation coefficient. So these describe the degree of collinearity between the simulated and the measured data, and this ranges from -1 to 1, and is an index of degree of linear relationship between the observed and the simulated values. So if r is equal to 0, that means there is no linear relationship exists. If r is equal to 1, then I will say there is a very strong, it may be the positive or the negative, the relationship exists. Similarly, this is true in case of R square also, which describe the proportion of variance in the measured data explained by the model. So R square also varies from 0 to 1, with higher values indicating less error variance. These statistics are oversensitive to high extreme values. So you need to remove the outlier also. And there is a debate whether you should remove the outliers or not. But I find that some of the recommendations are there that you should remove a few outliers. And one should also take care, yes, when they are using R square as a statistical criteria to evaluate the model. When there is a difference, then yes, when there is a equal difference between the observed and the measured, observed and the predicted values, you may get R square as a 1. Though there is a large difference between these two values. But if the difference is same for all the data, you may get R square is equal to 1. So you can say that that when you get R square is equal to 1, you may say that you have predicted accurately very well, but that may not be true. So that's why more statistical criteria should be included in the model evaluation. So we are still discussing the first category, standard regression. In standard regression, we have discussed slope and intercept, and now we are discussing R square or the small r. So I have taken only two methods under that standard regression. So the recommendation is that out of these two methods, at least you should include one. And normally, we used to include R square when we that evaluate the model. Second category is your dimensionless, which includes index of that agreement and the NSE. So, okay. So that NSE is normally recommended. We are going to use NSE. You can go into the details of index of agreement. So this is a normalized statistics and determines the relative magnitude of residual variance compared to that measured data. So NSE indicates how well the plot of observed versus simulated data fits to 1:1 line. So this also ranges between 0 and 1. Of course, when you get NSE as 1, that is the optimum value, which is the aim of that any modeler, that high you all the time try to get higher values of that NSE, and you get, especially you do that modeling in the monthly time step. Normally you get the higher values. So the values between 0 and 1 are generally viewed as acceptable level, whereas less than 0 indicates the mean observed value is a better predictor than the simulated values, which indicates unacceptable performance. So Under dimensionless category, we are going to use NSE. Under standard of regression, we are going to R square. And under graphical, we are going to plot the time series plot. So this is the standard formula for to evaluate the NSE. This is observed values, simulated mean, and again the observed values. So that what I suggest that you should do it manually also, and then in Excel sheet you can estimate this. And the third category is your error index. Under error index, I think I've taken the p bias and then RSR. So this between these two statistical criteria, we are going to use a p bias. Not we are going to use that many people are using the p bias, especially after 2007, when that Moriarty paper came, and this was accepted by many researchers in India, and we have been using. Earlier lots of paper that mentioned about only R square and NSE and the graphical plots, but now p bias has also been included. So, so this comes under the error index, the last category of the statistical criteria, and this measures the average tendency of the simulated data to be larger or smaller than their observed counterparts. The optimal value of the p-bias is 0, means the deviation or the difference between the observed and the simulated value should be 0, means you are getting the same value, which is the observed value. So with low magnitude values indicating the accurate model simulation. So always p bias should be lower. Yeah, underestimation bias is represented by the positive values, and the negative values indicate the model overestimation. So this is a kind of interpretation whether your model overestimates the value or underestimates the observed value. So this will help you in making the correction. And how much you can tolerate? Yes, how much difference you can allow? I think there is no such recommendation because that will, yes, that in that case you need to take the help of NSE value and the R square. So that means the core of the discussion of this topic is this only, that we need to include number one the graphical plot, number two the R square, and the number three NSE, and number four is the p bias. So at least you can use many more statistical criteria, but at least the minimum you should use these four, one graphical and three statistical methods to evaluate your model performance. That should be included in your research paper or your dissertation or your recommendation. RSR, I think this is one of the commonly used error index statistics. It is accepted that lower the RMSE, the better the model performance. That is true. And RSR, RMSE observation standard deviation ratio. I think this was developed by whom I don't remember, but this has been developed recently. RSR is calculated as the ratio of RMSE and then the standard deviation of the measured data. So this is the ratio of root mean square error divided by the standard deviation of your observed data. You will get RSR. So this varies from optimal value of 0, which indicates 0 RMSE, or the residual variation, and therefore the model perfect simulation. So lower the RSR, lower the RMSE, the better the model. So again, I find if you use RMSE or RSR, it doesn't make any difference. So then my point is that you should use a p bias. A p bias will give you a very clear picture and how much difference is there from your observed values. So these are all the commonly used objective functions: bias, mean square error, coefficient of determination, and NAS. And again, you can include your p bias also. So if you see the last figure. So this seems to be good. this seems to be good because you see you have got R square as 0.91 and NSE you have got as 0.91 and bias is minus 5%. So bias is minus 5%. This means what? The model has overestimated or underestimated. And here the blue lines indicate the observed values and the simulated one is red. So if you plot like this, again, you will be plotting this. So you need to look the lower values of your observed data, higher values of your observed data, and the various peaks and the deviation. These four things you should keep it in your mind. That how these four things are predicted by the model. So if you get a figure like this, I think your model has performed well. So this normally we used to get when we model the whole things in the monthly time step. Now, if you're modeling on daily time steps, and if you get such type of results, that may be a wonderful result. Normally, in daily simulation, we get R square is equal to 0.65 like that, NSE 0.68 like that. So that is also okay. There is a recommendation that what should be the value of R square and NSE and all those things. When you say that, okay, your model has done well. So again, higher values are all the time recommended. If you do the modeling work the properly, if you are using the special inputs nicely, or if you have all the data accurately, and if you suppose in your catchment area there is only one rain gauge station, and you are using those data, so of course your model output may not be that very well, because again you have assumed that rain gauge is going to represent all the catchment, which is not all the time true. So that depends that how well you have managed your data, how well your special inputs are there. If you are using a DEM and land use map at 10-meter resolution, then that will give a very great result. There is no doubt. So it all depends upon the special input, model structure, and again your own expertise to handle the model. So, so this seems to be a good result. I would say this is a good result. So which one is good or bad, and what could be the reason? Yeah. So if you see these three figures, these are taken from someone else. So the green line is the green line. I think this is visible to all of you. Any one of you can reply. Unmute
Yes, sir.
yourself. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Because I'm not able to see the chat box. Okay. So if this is clearly visible to you, the last one, figure number C. So the green line is simulated case 2, and the red line simulated case 1, and the blue line is indicating the observed values. Okay. So to me, it seems that C is not good, because there is lots of variation. Even the if you see, the peaks are not matching. The red one is here, green one is here, and the observed values peaks are here. Okay, and there is lots of deviation. So now, if you simply plot this, so your R square or NSE, that whatever is statistical criteria you will use, you will never get a good R square value or the NSE value. So that has to be lower. Now, if you see figure number B, in B, almost the peaks are matching, but again, there is a deviation. Again, there is a deviation. So here, if you get monthly R square as here you will get 0.6, here you will get 0.7, and in this figure, you see, though the trend is matching in all the figures, trend is matching. Trend is okay, but so which one is better? A, B, or C? Anybody can unmute yourself and tell me. To me, it seems that B is good. Anybody?
Option A, sir, is I think it's matching.
A is matching. Yeah, fine. To me, it seems that B is matching.
B is matching, sir. B.
Sir, I feel A.
Yeah, A. Yeah, right. A is matching. A is matching more accurately than B. Now, if you see it critically, here you see that this is the red one, here is the green one, and here this is the blue one. So, though the trend of the peak is same, the peak of the observed values is matching with the peak of both the simulated values, but the deviation is more. Deviation is more in this case, deviation is more in this case. But here, the peaks are also matching and the deviation is less. Now, if you see it critically, that which figure is representing the lower values good?
B, sir.
B. B. Okay. See, I also do not know. So this is what you need to check in your work whether low values are being masked properly. You are closer to the lower values, or you are closer to the higher values, or the trends are matching, or the peaks are matching. Once you are okay with this, then you go for the determination of the statistical criteria. Okay, so this is fine. Of course, this is the result of calibration, and this is the result of validation. So that result was better. So this has to be better. In case of validation, you have got R square is 0.81, NSE is 0.67, and the bias is 20%. So this can be taken okay. Again, I will say that it depends upon the overall mandate or the objective of your project. If lots of rupees are at stake on your model output, I will not go with this output. I will again go back to the model input. I will check it once again, and I will try to improve the validation result also. Fine, but if this is your MTech or the PhD dissertation, then it's okay. Fine. So I think you must have got a clear-cut idea that there are three statistical categories under which I need to use at least one method. So I will use this type of graphical representation, and I will use R square, I will use NSE, and I will use P bias. So this is what this has been recommended and accepted by almost all the international fraternity. So of course you are free to include that many more, but again you will get the same trend. But you cannot rely on only R square. What I said that in some of the cases, if the differences are same with the observed values, you will get R square as 1. So it is better to include then many more statistical criteria, at least R square, NSE, and P bias. So this is one line recommendation from this side. And this is not my recommendation. This has been recommended by Moriyasu et al., which was accepted very well by the leading scientists in this area. So this is yes, performance rating for NSE. Again, for SWAT model, this has been given greater than 0.65. Saleh recommended this 2000. But again, I will say if this is a daily time step that modeling exercise, then 0.65 is okay. But if you are working on the monthly time step, this is very less. At least in case of monthly time step, it should be more than 0.80. 0.65 means you have lots of error. Your inputs are not okay. Now this is in case of p bias. So for flow less than 15%, for sediment. So the first we used to calibrate the stream flow, then we used to calibrate the sediment. We will not calibrate the sediment first. So first stream flow will be fine-tuned, then only you will go for sediment, and then the nutrients. So SWAT, if the P bias is less than 20% in case of sediment, it is recommended. For a stream flow, it is less than 15%. So less than 15% is okay. You should not go more than that. Even 15% is more. Again, the same thing will be repeated. It all depends upon your mandate of the project. What is there on the stake? Is there any difference in standard value of statistical parameters of continuous and event-based model? See that your statistical parameters are indicating the model performance, whether it is empirical or whether it is dynamic or whether it is event-based model or whether it is physical-based model. So I think this is not related with the type of model. This gives the model performance. Amit Raj is asking, sir, for SWAT model, suppose R square is fine, but other parameters are beyond limit. So what to do for other parameters? See, if your R square is fine, means if your R square is 0.85, so your other parameters means NSE and the P bias may be lower. So again, you need to find that why this is happening, because NSE is going to take the variance, okay, and your P bias will take the difference between the observed and the measured values. Again, you need to come back to the model and you need to improve the model. Unless you get all the statistical criteria well within the limit, at least R square and NSE. I said R square may be fine. You may get R square as a 1, but that will not ensure that the model is good. Because if you see, in all the cases, if the difference is same, you will get R square is equal to 1. You are right that you may get R square fine, but other criteria should be improved, and that will be improved by fine-tuning the model only. Okay. So Amit, you got my point? Savita?
Yes, sir.
You got my point?
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So Dibya is asking whether the choice of statistical parameters depend on the problem statement. For example, in case of peak flood estimation and in case of reservoir operation management. See, I think choosing statistical parameters has nothing to do with your problem statement. See, ultimately, why we are using the statistical parameters? Number one, you are using the statistical parameters to evaluate the model performance. Whether your overall objective is to estimate the flood peak or overall objective is to determine or to simulate the stream flow or the nutrient loss or the sediment loss. Ultimately, you are going to check how your model is performing by using some sort of statistical methods. That's the idea. So in all the cases, this has to be in good range. I don't find any relationship with the statistical criteria with problem statement. I'm not sure. I will check it. But to me, it seems there is no relationship, because why we are using the statistical criteria, we just think about that. You are using it to evaluate your model performance. Your objective may be different. Okay, that Vanita is, I think, from Central Agriculture University, Gangtok, Vanita Pandey. The statistics for my calibrated SWOT model for sediment daily and monthly is within the limit, but standard deviation varied very large. Is it significant to consider standard deviation in model performance? Standard deviation is very large. I think there is no recommendation for the standard deviation to be within the limit. But standard deviation indicates that how much you can, that how much your mean of the observed values should be okay. So if you see RSR is a statistical criteria which uses standard deviation. So in case if your standard deviation is very large, your RSR will be less. So this is something I need to look into. If in case of standard deviation is very large, whether we'll go ahead or not. I think you can go ahead if your remaining statistical criteria are well within the limit. You can try to improve those criteria. If you find good, then you use R square, you use NSE, you use P bias. Somehow, if your standard the deviation is very large, that will be accounted in these three statistical criteria. Maybe you may be on the just border range of those values, but you try to improve those values. I have never seen to consider standard deviation in the model performance. I've never seen in any paper. I think you have also not seen it. See, the best that whatever statistical methods you use, based on my experience, I can share that the visual plotting is much more effective. If you find your trends are matching, your lower values are well represented, your higher values are well within the limit, your peaks are matching, I think you will get all the statistical criteria well within the limit. Otherwise, if you have any difficulty in that model input, that plot will indicate this. So you should carefully inspect the plot. Don't ignore it. Normally, we used to do that. Anyway, so I can understand that if you are new to modeling, then it takes time. And if you have been working on any that model, maybe this program is going to help you. So make a good contact with the expert people, and that's what the overall objective of the program is. That also to make a good rapport with the expert, take help from them. This is what we used to discuss among ourselves. That any help in terms of research or the solving the practical problem, people used to come forward. So I have kept one lecture from DHI also. Mr. Mani will take the class. I think he will take 2 classes on Mike. Mike Vanman or Mike Urban is there. So SWOT model data I have just mailed you today morning. You just open it and you may get some sort of difficulty, but you keep on working on some sort of model, and gradually you will overcome all the difficulties. Nowadays, lots of YouTube videos are there, user group are there. So this modeling has also been included in the planning also. I see in Jharkhand, there was a Batandi River Basin. So government of Jharkhand invited Australian team from CISRO to study the river basin and to identify the water sharing issues. So they use their own model. But again, for large scale water resources planning, this model can be a very good tool to assess the scenario. You can make the scenario analysis. What happens if this is going to change, and what action you need to take. You means the government need to take. So again, uncertainty analysis and the validation. And in case of SWOT, I find that if you use the fine resolution spatial data and accurate weather data, you can use the result directly. Though I should not say this, but we have got such type of results that if you use finer resolution spatial data and all the weather data, the output is well within the acceptable limits. So from my side, my lecture is closed. So should we resume at 3 o'clock for hands-on? If more number, yes, I will. Yes, will come. I will close this.
Sir, can I ask a question?
Amit,
Yes,
Amit
sir.
Raj. Yes, you can ask.
Sir, suppose I am doing calibration, and after calibration, all the parameters value are within permissible limits.
Okay.
So then, why I should go for validation? What is the need for that?
Validation means,
Thank you.
see, now you see the basic definition of that validation. Validation means you are testing the model with unknown data set. Unknown data set means especially the weather data. You are going to change the weather data, and you will see how the model is responding. So that's a step. That's a step. How? Because in future, then why you are using the modeling? You are using the model because in future you don't need to use the observed data. You are willing to use the model output in your future planning. So only thing is that you just give the input of the weather data and you will get a output. So validation means you are testing the model with set of unknown data. So that is the important steps. How your model is going to perform with the data which is not known to the model. You must do that.
Thank you, sir.
So, okay, so I will close the session here, and I would request all of you to get connected at sharp 3 o'clock, because that will be hands-on practice. So lots of difficulty will come and it will take time. Okay? Thank you very much for your patient hearing. Thank you.